Hit that subscribe button before we get into today's video because, hey, it's 100% free. We have the best Chicago Bears coverage here on the internet, on YouTube, youtube.com/BearsNow. Don't miss any of our coverage because, hey, we have a lot of fun. youtube.com/BearsNow. Hit that big red button. You're watching Chicago Bears Now. Harrison Graham here for another video. Let's take a look at some Bears offseason losers. We did offseason winners. Now we're going to take a look at some offseason losers on today's show. Let's start quarterback Andy Dalton, and yes, we'll pair in Nick Foles here as well. Let's face it. You draft Justin Fields and you're Andy Dalton, who we'll focus on here first. That's kind of a kick in the you-know-what because he signed with the Bears because he was like, hey, what teams out there could I actually start for? And he probably also thought, hey, the Bears pick at number 20 overall. They're not going to draft a quarterback in round one. Well, they trade up for Justin Fields, and that changes everything. Dalton's not going to start for long. Now, he's been a pro. He's not a complete offseason loser because he got $10 million. The guy got the bag, so he's still, financially doing fine. But he was kind of hoping, man, maybe Chicago's my chance to hit the reset button on my career. Come in here, play well, either earn another contract with Chicago or go sign elsewhere. Shorter shelf life now. He better play well and play well early. Otherwise, Justin Fields is going to get in there sooner rather than later. Bummer for Andy Dalton, but hey, that's just business, baby. You have a chance to go get Justin Fields, and you're Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. You have to go do it, which is why that duo of Nagy and Pace were considered offseason winners, in my opinion. Obviously, you kind of shift the focus here to Foles now, QB3. He's the odd man out. His is kind of two-part. When you signed Andy Dalton, you told Nick Foles, hey, we want to upgrade at starter to Dalton. And then when you drafted Justin Fields, you really got bodied because you're like, oh, man, at least he could have maybe competed with Dalton. Foles could have. But now it's like he's clearly just doesn't have a role here in Chicago other than being a mentor type. So Andy Dalton, Nick Foles, offseason losers, both still have made a lot of money in their career. Dalton got the bag this year still, so kudos to him on that. But in terms of the playing aspect, you got to consider them both some offseason losers on this one. But get your votes in. Who's the bigger offseason loser this for the Chicago Bears? Is it AD or is it NF for Nick Foles? Let us know how you feel on this one. I'll go Nick Foles because Dalton's at least going to get a chance here to start still, and he signed a bigger contract for this season. So I'll type NF, but bummer for both guys once Justin Fields got drafted. Allen Robinson, and you're probably thinking, offseason loser. Yeah, the guy wanted a contract extension, and he's playing under the franchise tag despite putting up very good numbers, the past couple of seasons. Over 150 targets, around 100 catches each of the past 2 years, playing with Mitchell Trubisky, Chase Daniel, and Nick Foles. He wanted a brand new deal, and he's stuck on the franchise tag. So that is definitely a bummer for Allen Robinson. Now, he's going to make $18 million this year. He's going to be fine financially, but he's looking for the Amari Cooper 5-year, $100 million deal, which, hey, I'm not going to argue with it. I think Allen Robinson was worthy of getting a brand new contract, but I have to limp him in with offseason losers because Ryan Pace hasn't paid up, So he's frustrated. He's been a pro, though. He went to minicamp. He's going to be at training camp. Big fan of Allen Robinson's attitude with this whole thing, but you guys know what to do, and I'm going to continue to push this movement. #SignAR in the comments. Get it done. He could still be an offseason winner if Pace signs him to a new deal before July 15th. The clock is ticking. Just got a couple of weeks here. #SignAR. Let's make it happen before the deadline. Anthony Miller next up on our Bears offseason losers show on today's show. Hey, when you go out and you sign Marquise Goodwin, Damiere Byrd, and draft Daz Newsome, and then your wide receiver coach, Mike Fury, publicly says that we don't need you when talking about Anthony Miller, that's a signal that you're on the hot seat, buddy. Now, I think Anthony Miller's had the right attitude. He had that tweet where nothing wrong with a little competition. That's how you should approach it, so good for him, and I still think he's got a shot to redeem himself and prove worthy of being that high draft pick from a couple of years ago. But when you make those moves, when one of your coaches says that, you're not super highly valued by this franchise right now. There's just no doubt about that. And I think if the Bears got really anything from Miller, they'd probably look at trading him. So when you get Goodwin, when you get Bird, when you get Newsome, Anthony Miller has to be considered an offseason loser, but things can change. Training camp's around the corner, and he can certainly prove his worth over the next couple of months and really prove his worth if he makes this team and balls out during the regular season. Will Anthony Miller make the Bears' final roster? Because I actually don't think this is absolutely a given. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Let us know what you think on this one. Will Anthony Miller make the 53-man roster? Last one here, and you're probably like, Ryan Nall, who cares? Ryan Nall, the running back fullback hybrid, former preseason legend. Why is he an offseason loser? Well, I don't see an avenue to him making this football team where he's been able to make the roster the past couple of seasons. Where's he going to fit in on this depth chart? You got David Montgomery. You got Damian Williams. You got Tariq Cohen. Khalil Herbert is higher on the pecking order. Maybe he's competing with Artavis Pierce and C.J. Maribel, but are they going to keep 5 backs? Maybe they go wider at receiver and they consider Cohen more of a receiver, and maybe a guy like Nall makes it, but I just don't think there's any room for him. And the Bears are not one of those teams that heavily values a guy that can play fullback. Like, it's not the Chiefs who carry a fullback every year. Like, I don't think the Bears will keep Ryan Nall because, we can line up in I formation twice a game if we want to. Like, I just don't think that they're going to keep him for that reason. And so once you signed Williams and drafted Khalil Herbert, to me it's like, bye-bye, Ryan Nall. Like, I just don't see where he fits in here. Maybe he's on the practice squad, which would still be, valuable for him, a guy who went undrafted, I believe. But I think you have to consider him an offseason loser because his avenue to making this football team is very, very difficult. So there you have it. Andy Dalton, Nick Foles, Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller, Ryan Nall, my 5 Bears offseason losers. There's certainly some other candidates that could have made some sense, but these were the 5 that I decided to zero in on here on today's show. Dalton, Foles, Robinson, Miller, and Ryan Nall. You hate to see it, but you got to answer it. Who has been the Bears' biggest offseason loser? Let us know down in the comments section. If I had to pick one, I'd probably go Nick Foles. Because when he got traded last year, like, oh man, I may be the starter for the Bears long term, and now he's like out of the fold, basically, out of the picture. Gotta have him at number 1 if you ask me. But let us know down in the comments who has been the Bears' biggest offseason loser this year.